This is the CMO and Joe podcast. We interview today's most inspiring chief marketing officers and savvy marketers of lucrative direct-to-consumer.
And we are live. I'm super excited to have three amazing guests on the podcast this week. We had Robin last week, and now we have three amazing founders and leaders of awesome marketing agencies and advertising agencies. We have Julie Kenney. She's the co-founder of Second Spark. It's an agency that pursues the progress of the healthcare industry, and they've worked with many billion-dollar healthcare pharmaceutical brands. We have Todd Evans. He's the president and CEO of Rivendell Media. They're a unique media rep firm that specializes in the LGBTQ consumer. And then we have Flowers Welch, the chairman and CEO of Flowers Communications Group, one of the nation's top multicultural integrated marketing agencies. Welcome to the podcast, guys.
Thank you for having us, Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
Yeah, so I like to start off with a little challenge in the beginning. Maybe give us a 2-minute or maybe a Twitter-size length bio of kind of how you got to where you are today. Maybe we'll start with Julie.
Okay, well, Twitter size, oh my gosh. Okay, so I would say like I've always had a passion towards advertising. Used to make commercials as a child with the big like VHS recorders. Just loved the creativity of it, loved the kind of persuasion of it. I probably couldn't tell you what the brands are that we created commercials for. It's probably more for a Saturday Night Live skit. But I went down that path, went to school for advertising, went through my entire 15 years of different advertising agencies, some small, some in a big kind of holding company. And then I left kind of trying to create something that was really unique and needed in the industry. So we left and founded Second Spark and kind of have been building and reimagining our company as the industry has changed over the course of the past 11 years. And that's kind of how I've gotten to where I've gotten.
Awesome. Thanks, Julie. How about you, Todd?
Oh, yeah, mine was just kind of by chance. I was in the printing industry for about a decade, and my friend I became friends with the founder of the company. And I was instantly fascinated with the business. And he was a one-man store at the time. And I was like, Joe, I really think I could do something with this. And I tried to make a deal with him. I worked for him for a little bit. And I said, I'll try and bring in the business. He didn't think there was enough business at the time. And unfortunately, he had an asthma attack right after that and died in the city. And his partner had to take it over. And I waited as long as I could. We were friends, and he would tell me how his days were going. And one day he said, I'm ruining this business. I'm going to have to do something. I'm going to go to a business broker. And I said, no, you're not going to go to a business broker. I'm going to figure out how to buy it. And so I bought the company in 1994. And it was started in 1979, but I do have an affinity for it. I doubled the sales every year for 10 years, right to 9/11. 9/11, it became much harder after that. And that's just really how it was. I did have a passion for it. When you're involved in a cause that's also your business, it's hard not to have a passion for it, I would say.
Absolutely. I love that. And how about you, Michelle?
Joe, I have known that I wanted to have my own business since I was a little girl. So I toyed with all kinds of entrepreneurial activities as a little girl. I didn't know what that business would be, however, until I stepped into Golan Harris Communications, now known as Golan. It's a major general market PR shop. But while I was at Golan, I then developed this passion for multicultural marketing, which Golan did not do. So I left Golan, I went to Burrell, and under the mentorship of one of the pioneers in the industry, Tom Burrell, I learned the business of multicultural marketing, and left after a few years with his blessing, of course, to start Flowers Communications Group. So this is a childhood passion that has now come to fruition for me.
Absolutely. And congratulations on being recently named to Forbes America's Best PR Agencies 2021 list.
I am extremely proud of that. It was very unexpected, and sometimes those are the best wins when you least expect something wonderful and dynamic to happen to you.
Absolutely. I love that. Yeah, I just want to switch gears real quick. Obviously, we're in a pandemic the last few months, and yeah, things have been quite crazy. I'm actually here in Canada, but also in the States and around the world. How have you guys been able to fare with the recent few months of lockdown, quarantine, and whole pandemic?
I mean, I can take that one first. So being in the healthcare industry and a customer engagement agency, we are very prosperous during this time. And fortunately, many of our clients actually are helping in this pandemic. So whether it's coming up with a vaccine or creating masks or ventilators, all of which we are working with those companies, they're in need of a lot of help. So we've been very fortunate in that we've been able to grow actually during this time. Recently, we were just featured on the news because we created a pandemic pod for our employees' children, so that the mothers, who many of my employees are mothers of elementary school children, we've actually hired a teacher so that they could come into the office and collaborate where needed, but being so safe during this time. So we kind of created this pandemic pod and have been doing really well.
Oh, nice. For you, Todd, I'm curious, how has COVID impacted LGBTQ media?
Well, it's been tough, I have to say. As far as the office goes, when we had Hurricane Sandy, we're on like the most major road in New Jersey, right outside New York City. And we didn't have power for 3 weeks, 21 days at the office or my home. So that was how we kind of learned how to work remotely and do everything remotely. So this hasn't been bad as far as the workload goes. But what's really been a challenge for the titles that I represent in the media properties is their distribution. A lot of them being bars and business establishments, and they've been closed. So while we had no real downturn from our clients, everything was sort of status quo. Most of my biggest clients said, we're not increasing, we're not decreasing, we're staying the same. I have had a challenge with the media properties and actually being able to get the message out. And I will say though, but most people in media have been pretty reasonable and pretty much understand that, so we just have you have to be a little limber and flexible. But like in my business, circulation and frequency or even quality, if it's a digital format, it's all based on the revenue that comes into them. So I always say everything's artificially low if times are not as good. So we're going to have to see, but so far we're managing well. I figure we got this far. Got to get to the next summer, and I think by Pride we should be back to normal. I'm hoping. Crossing my fingers.
Fingers crossed.
Joe, we have really had to jump in during this point in time, given the disproportionate impact of COVID-19 on African American and Hispanic communities, where we are 3 times more likely to contract the virus, and then much more likely then to die as well. So we have really upped our work with government entities and institutions. We're working right now with Cook County, the county in which Chicago is located, on a Mask Up campaign, really pushing people to utilize their masks and to exercise proper hygiene to prevent the spread. Chicago is a hot spot right now. We were just tapped about a week or so ago by Chicago Mayor Lightfoot to lead a Protect Chicago campaign that also is focused on wearing masks and other preventive measures, and utilizing advertising properties and public relations vehicles, stories, earned media, to get the word out, especially during this holiday season. The mayor really wanted to kind of drill down and make sure that people were staying home as much as possible. So we've been deeply engaged in a lot of that work.
Well, very nice. Speaking of staying home, I'm in my own little pandemic pod here, trying to stay safe. For you, Julie, you mentioned that obviously you're seeing a higher uptick in the pharmaceutical healthcare industry. How have you guys been able to adjust? Are you working remotely, in office still? How are you being able to manage kind of the more work coming through the doors?
Well, so we're based in Pennsylvania, and we had a lockdown where we were all virtual. I mean, our business is definitely, we're all able to work remote. As restrictions kind of were removed, we just found, and numbers started to go down because we do a lot better in collaboration mode. We did come into the office, so I'm in the office right now. I mean, many of our clients are really looking for other ways to engage their audience, because right now they, whether it's a sales rep trying to talk to a doctor, how do you do so in a virtual setting that's far more than a Zoom call? And so we're really trying to figure out that and crack that nut of the best engagement methods for our healthcare companies that are really trying to figure out how to reinvent themselves in a way of how they typically have gone to market with their sales reps.
Okay. And not to stay on the pandemic topic too long, I'm sure our listeners get bombarded by the media news all day, but I'm curious, we have the pandemic on the news. We also have the racial protests, demonstrations as well. Black Lives Matter. Even here in Canada, we have some demonstrations as well, but it seems like there's a racial justice movement and big march towards more awareness going on. And from your perspective, Michelle, how can you explain what's going on from your perspective?
Joe, in the 30 years we've been in business, I have never seen such a major shift in the consciousness of corporate America and across a multitude of institutions to address racial inequality, injustice, and discriminatory practices. The focus on programs and policies and meaningful actions to improve the quality of life in communities that have been disenfranchised has been tremendous. So many people want to land on the right side of history. As I said, I've been doing this for 30 years and I've never seen this kind of momentum. This is the second civil rights movement, so you want to be on that right side. So we are seeing the collective hard work of billions of dollars now being focused on affecting change and moving our country in the right direction. Some people think that this is just a moment in time. It is not a moment in time. I've been in this business long enough to see now the fervor and interest in building lasting systemic programs to create change.
Absolutely. And speaking of diversity, Todd, from your perspective as well, how has things changed from when you first started to today?
Well, on the pandemic side, so the first thing we thought, there's print and digital, right? So we thought, oh, there goes print, like thinking that the demand, and print is still very much king in the LGBT community because most of our distribution of the media is within LGBT neighborhoods and so on. But it was just the opposite, actually, because people were really craving their own voice, right? I'm sure Michelle can relate to it. It's buying for your media, buying for your own community, and who do you really trust? And I think one thing this whole last couple of years has shown us is trust is such an important thing. Even like for pharma with Julie, like, here's this whole in pharma distribution method of getting information out based on trust, and doctor's offices. My mom goes to a doctor's office. She goes, I don't touch anything, right? So there's bright sides and pitfalls, and it's really a learning curve for everyone sort of all at the same time. So that kind of makes it different. Or digital is certainly a bright spot because it is up. But just to give I'm always glass is half full, but our business is down about 40% this year. That's a lot. And it directly filters out to all LGBT media across the country. So I'm concerned, and I've never worked harder. And being alone in a big office, it's lonely a little bit. Any agency can tell you that collaboration of ideas, even now doing this together, it makes me feel great, right? Just to hear other people's views on different topics, and makes me feel like, oh, I'm not alone. I'm not the only one thinking that. So that's sort of where it stands. I hope I answered.
No, that's perfect.
I got to say though about Todd, so we work with Todd obviously under Titanium, and he is probably one of the most positive, fun people to be around. His energy is just infectious. So I'm sure you're hearing that now, but just love the guy.
Yeah, I could feel the positivity radiating off my Zoom screen, so I could attest to that too.
I need
it. Julie, I'm curious. Todd mentioned that, I mean, you have to stay positive, the ups and downs as a leader. For you personally, as an owner and leader, how have you been able to personally grow throughout your journey?
Well, a lot of what we do, as you're kind of leading an organization, my partner, Beth Cross, and I, we challenge ourselves regularly, listening to podcasts like this one, whether it's reading a book from other industries to kind of get new ideas and new perspectives, which is another reason why we joined Titanium. Titanium offers other industry expertise, whether it's the automotive, the entertainment industry. There's so many things that you can learn and bring forward into your own business. So a lot of what we do is it's listening to books, it's listening to podcasts, it's kind of taking these nuggets and trying to tell your own story, piecing these little elements together.
No, that's awesome.
I have to echo what Julie said about Titanium and the collective. I have found, I've only been a member of the collective for a short time, but in that short time, I see how Titanium members bring this diversity of expertise, this diversity of experience, this diversity of perspectives to the table to create a stronger product. And to really help today's marketers with some of the challenging and complex problems that they have. Bringing all of that together under one roof is what makes Titanium such a bold and powerful collaborative network to me. Unlike some of the bigger global entities, we are much more nimble and can get around that table with all of those different perspectives very, very, very quickly. So that is definitely one of the strengths of Titanium.
Absolutely. I think it would be good to maybe take a step back and add some context for the listeners, what Titanium is. I'm sure they've listened to the last week's episode with Robin, but if you haven't, make sure you listen. So Titanium, could you maybe give a quick description of what Titanium is and why you guys are a part of Titanium?
I mean, I could take a stab at starting there. I mean, Titanium is a collective of certified diverse organizations. We have everything from market research companies to Michelle and her company of multicultural, to media companies like Todd, all the way to analytics. So when you think about your a brand in the marketing space, they touch all the different companies that we all have under the collective. But what's really beautiful about it is we all are certified diverse. It allows us to have, like Michelle was just mentioning, diverse perspectives, fresh perspectives. We all join into it ourselves. So Titanium didn't purchase us. We all did it voluntarily because we could see that partnering with other companies makes us stronger as an individual company. So that's what I would say about Titanium. It has been really valuable to us and valuable to our clients because they are able to tap into the diverse thinking that we offer.
Sure. You know what I always say, just to add on to what Julie says, is there's nothing more empowering than knowing who to go to for something that you can't do, right? And even if somebody can't in the group, I could say, oh, you know, I know Julie's in pharma, so she's going to know someone that could probably put this together for us. And I like to tell people it's best in the class businesses, and then by the way, we're because people still always want the best in their class, is what I think.
Absolutely. And just to kind of go on that point too, you guys are best in class. You guys are experts in your individual fields and areas of expertise. I'm always curious when I have people like you guys on the podcast, what's been maybe a campaign or marketing execution that you guys are really proud of that you want to share with the audience, and what made it so successful?
So I will say that what I'm very proud of at our organization is, as we think about kind of where we are today with marketing and marketing to consumers and to, for me, healthcare professionals as well, there's a high level of personalization that's needed. And part of what we always say is that a doctor is a consumer first. They're going through the same exact experiences that all of us. They're touching the same brands as anybody else. So they're used to those experiences and they expect them. And so one of the things that we created as an organization is a platform and a product that allows us to be hyper-focused. We call it micro-segmentation, can really start to look at customers and create campaigns and efforts that are very personalized to their needs. And it's just something that it sounds like obvious in today's world, but in healthcare, you know, they're a little bit more behind the times of kind of taking things on. They're slow to change. So we've been able to pull that expertise from other industries and have created a product that our clients are buying and are seeing tremendous value in, and how they can actually look at their data, look at their customers, and then do hyper-personalized communications to them.
Very cool.
I am very proud, Joe, of just about everything that, I shouldn't say just about, of everything that we do as an agency, because that's the kind of work that we take on. The underlying root for everything that Flowers Communications Group does is about making a difference in our communities. So one of my campaigns I'd say that I'm most proud of, we did early in our days. It was in the early 90s, and it was an HIV/AIDS awareness initiative targeting African American and Latino women. And it was in the days when people were not stepping up to let you know their status. It was, you know, pre-Magic Johnson, around that stage and place. So I was extremely proud of our ability to be able to work with this group of women who were HIV positive, and to work with them in a way where they were not afraid to tell their stories and to show their faces and do work that would help other women take preventative behaviors. So I can see today the pictures of these women in the Chicago Sun-Times with their names under it and their stories told in ways that weren't being done at that time. So I'm really proud of what I think was some groundbreaking work that we did to help make a difference in communities.
Absolutely. I love that. And Todd, I wanted to ask you too, have you received any backlash from any campaigns, LGBTQ specific media campaigns?
Thank goodness, no. But clients are always concerned about it. But we always say, if you're going to pursue this market, you have to do it in an authentic way. And if you were to get any backlash, you should have a statement prepared and be ready to stand behind it. And we've never, there's over the years outside of what I do, there's been, I think, way back in the 90s, Levi's, and I think Disney, when they did Gay Days at Disney, had a little backlash, but both of them reported increased sales and increased attendance soon after. So, I mean, I think most people in North America really do embrace diversity. And if you stand behind that message, it's really hard to argue with that. For any company, the whole world is sort of your consumer. One thing I wanted to point out about Titanium is Titanium's the agency of record for Ricoh. And, Ricoh is a conservative Japanese company. And I think one of the reasons they ultimately chose Titanium was because of that diversity perspective, right? They knew they were sort of locked into a small niche. I remember when they were first talking about it and was like, oh, the copier company. And they were like, no, we're so much more than that. And it was enlightening to all of us. And then the campaign is just rolling out, so there's not much I can talk about it, but it's basically to change that pigeonholed company into a much broader company with arrays of offerings. I know when we had our first tour, we couldn't believe the products that they had that nobody knew about. And the CEO was there and he goes, yes, that's our problem. Nobody knows about most of these products. So it just was a really great win in an unexpected way that, you could see a company that's already out there, diverse company, choosing Titanium. But I just thought it was just the opposite of what I expected. So I thought that was good news, all around.
Absolutely. I just wanted to ask also, having such experts on the panel today, and maybe our audience would be interested in knowing, what's maybe a marketing trend currently that you're really excited about, or something that you've seen from doing the groundwork?
I can take that. I think, it's weird. You call it a trend, but I do think it's probably here to stay. And it goes back to kind of what I had talked about before of just personalization. We've seen a market that went from kind of this mass media approach of kind of the top of the marketing funnel, focusing there into the masses. And we're seeing much more of a kind of a flipped funnel approach in an area where you really try to personalize to the individual and use those individuals to give your marketing more power. And it's kind of like this whole, like looking at your audience of maybe an even smaller, more engaged audience is better than a larger disengaged one. And I think that just goes back to how important personalization really is.
No, absolutely. I think personalization, if you could segment and really speak to your audience, that's something that's always going to resonate. So that's great to hear.
I'm excited about what is now purpose-driven marketing, where these brands are really putting their dollars behind work, as I said, that makes a difference. You don't have to isolate selling your products from doing activities that do good things in our communities, that help to build minority businesses, that help to provide educational opportunities for our youth. So you'll see now this emergence. McDonald's just unveiled this entirely new purpose-driven marketing initiative, from what the stores look like to the products to the diverse vendors that they work with as well. So that's a trend that's exciting me, the emergence of purpose with brands in marketing.
Michelle, I totally agree with you on that. Just it's funny. It's like it's going from this selling model to this serving model. Before it was like let me just tell you all about me, and now it's much more about kind of how can I serve you more as a community, and bring you into the story and the brand versus just kind of hitting you over the head with the brand.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I love that. Don't hit people over the head.
Yeah.
In terms of what you guys do, because we have some marketers listening, what's maybe a misconception about marketing or even branding that you'd want to debunk?
I think it goes back to just what we were just talking about of it's not about like hitting you over the head. It's
Yeah.
very much about bringing you into the story, serving you in a way, kind of creating a relationship with you and caring about you as a customer, versus taking you for granted. And particularly in healthcare, I think pharma gets a bad rap where everybody, I think, thinks based on what's been out there in the media of they're just there for profits, but very much so that's like the complete opposite of what we experience on a daily basis of like looking at the patient and trying to find every opportunity to connect with that patient, so that they can serve them well and give them the relief that they need as a customer of theirs.
I think I'd like to debunk the myth that it's a one-time, sort of one opportunity, one engagement sort of approach. It's a long-term approach, very strategic, where you are building step by step by step with this relationship. And generally, especially from a multicultural consumer perspective, marketing is about building a long-term, lasting relationship. So it's not about launching a product, leaving the consumer there until you have your next opportunity to talk to them, connect to them about something new that you may have in your brand portfolio. It's about building that connection with them from the moment you develop an initial relationship. For example, there's a lot of data that talks about the loyalty of multicultural consumers. So when you begin to build that relationship, you've got to continue it, and you will have that brand loyalty to support you, which is good for you during the ups and downs, economic ups and downs, or brand ups and downs. You need that trust bank, you need that loyal base of consumers that continue to move you forward. So the misconception that it's all about one campaign, one opportunity to impact a client, especially a targeted group of clients, is something that we really try to help dispel and move people past.
Absolutely.
Do you guys feel like I'm sorry to ask the question, but we have a strategy called like our brand fan strategy. So we talk about it to our clients, but we also use it internally with our clients. And a lot of times, like our experience is always that our clients are kind of in that acquisition mode always, but lose sight of like you just mentioned, Michelle, that loyalty and kind of nurturing that relationship along the way. And kind of what are those steps in keeping them, engaged with you. And I was just wondering if you, outside of pharma, we definitely see like acquisition is a really important, like getting them onto a treatment or prescribing a treatment that they might not be familiar with. But then, the keeping them on and seeing the value of that and nurturing that relationship is one that we have to definitely push for. And I just didn't know if outside of the industry, if you experience the same thing.
I think it goes across industries because people are always trying to grow market share, bring in new customers, bring in new users of their products. So it's up to us as strategists, as thought partners with our clients to make sure that they don't lose consciousness of the people who actually got them where they are. So we will oftentimes have a campaign, yes, that's focused on the acquisition of new consumers, but there is also a maintenance and a need to make sure that your existing customer stays excited, because guess what? you don't keep them excited about you and your brand, they may become acquisition targets for your competitors. So you want to make sure that you are doing both, bringing in new customers, but also making sure that your base of consumers is happy and satisfied, and you've paid attention to them as well in your marketing initiatives.
That is so true. I mean, I have seen that over and over. So in LGBT marketing, so much revolves around just June, Gay Pride Month, or Gay Pride parades. And I can't tell you how many companies have spent way more than our regular customers during that time to disappear, and then also disappear from the consumer's memory as well. And you balance that with a company, like everyone knows the absolute story in LGBT media, but basically what they did is came into the market strong for a couple of years and then just have maintained that over the years. And no one has ever been able to surpass it because they never follow through with the maintenance of it. So it's just so true, because what it also does too as an investment for a company is it turns your customers into your advocates for your company in case you have a problem, you know?
Yes.
I remember Starbucks had that war on Christmas. Didn't turn out to be a big problem because their loyal base came right to their aid and was like, no, you haven't been in a Starbucks store. It's all about the holidays, you know, type of thing. So to me, that's marketing 101, but it's
Todd,
great.
in agreement with you, because we've had clients, given our focus on multicultural marketing, want to develop a Black History Month campaign for the African American community, or a Hispanic Heritage Month campaign. And we say, what are you doing 365 days a year beyond Black History Month? You know, and we try to move them to a more long-term sort of partnership with this community, because I've also seen campaigns that were built around a moment in time fail dismally because they weren't authentic, and that consumers sniffed it out and saw it and called them on it right away. Yeah. Like those companies who were jumping on board with these public acknowledgments and platitudes for Black Lives Matter. You saw instantly a number of major brands get called out for what were inauthentic comments, and also what we may call cultural appropriation, trying to take advantage of a moment in time for their brand's sake. But I think there has been some interesting knowledge poured into them to move them now in a right and different direction.
Yes, everything happens for a reason, I say, and I noticed that too.
Yeah.
And good for them to, well, at least they learned the lesson, hopefully.
Yeah, everything does happen for a reason. I only have a couple more questions here for you guys. I'm sure you guys have other things on the agenda for today, but one thing I really wanted to ask was, what's maybe something you guys, each of you, are proud of that we haven't touched on today that you'd like to share with the audience?
I mean, I would say that my most proud thing within Second Spark is really my people. We have a powerhouse group of women and a man, but they're just operating at the top of their game, and it's like so awesome to be associated with them, and it just makes me really proud that we've built a team like that, but also just they are succeeding and doing well themselves.
Awesome.
I'll say I'm most proud of just the collaboration and being a part of Titanium and being able to tap into that resource, especially the fact that everyone's a CEO. Everyone has basically done everything from emptying the garbage at their companies, doing thing at the end of the day, to doing the super big picture thing. So that I've never been in a meeting in Titanium and if someone say, no, I can't do that, or could you get someone else to do it? Do that. And that's what it takes as an entrepreneur anyway. You have to be willing to just get your feet wet and do it.
We touched on mine at the beginning of the podcast. I'm extremely proud of the Forbes America's Best PR Agencies recognition, and am happy to bring that capability to the Titanium Collective. I provide that multicultural perspective and a strong public relations lens added to all of the diverse talent that's already around the table. So I'm very proud of that.
Awesome, guys. And where can our listeners connect with you guys online if they have more questions or just want to reach out to you guys?
They can always go to my website, explorefcg.com, or get me on IG at Michelle Flowers Welch. That's my handle.
Same with the website, secondspark.com, which is 2ndspark.com, as well as LinkedIn. I'm Julie Kenney on LinkedIn.
Awesome.
Same thing, website, lgbtmarket.com or rivendellmedia.com or gaymarket.com, or LinkedIn. I find LinkedIn is a good way to make that first connection to Todd Evans.
Perfect. Yeah, I'll put all the links in the description of the podcast. It's been a real pleasure to have you guys on. You brought a diverse perspective to the conversation. And since this is a marketing branding type of podcast, I like to always end the podcast with the guest saying a word or a phrase to describe their brand. So my last question to you, Julie, is what's maybe one word or phrase to describe Julie Kenney's brand?
Oh, specifically to Julie Kenney or Second Spark? I mean, I would say for me and my company is just being relevant is one way. We are a customer engagement agency focused in healthcare, and in order to engage your customers right now, you have to be relevant to them.
I love that. How about yourself, Todd?
I'd say authenticity. You just have to be authentic about whatever it is that you're doing, and especially in our marketplace, or especially in multicultural marketing. Don't do it if you're not going to be authentic about it.
Awesome. And Michelle?
I would say flow, which is an integral part of our name. Our ability to be fluid, to flow with the times has been key to our longevity and success. Flow.
I love that. I think that really sums up the conversation. It's very relevant, authentic, and flowy. So I really appreciate you guys being on the podcast.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
This episode of the CMO and Joe podcast has ended, but be sure to subscribe for more business strategies and tactics to help you create the profitable and successful business you've always dreamed of. And don't forget to rate and review so we can continue to bring you the best content. See you on the next episode.